Hello, guys. Welcome to a very special episode of Lazio Lounge. Not only because we are having a good coffee, not only because there's the sun here finally, but we are celebrating 7 years of Lazio Lounge. This is really unbelievable, honestly. Six.
I think it's 6.
2017. Yeah, it's 6. Well, I just had after Lazio Cremonese, I'm getting confused. So
You just spent like half an hour with me, and now it feels like another year. As you had it.
Definitely. Who could have thought about that? So, special episode. We are talking about, obviously, Lazio Cremonese. What Miro Klose and Maurizio Sarri said after the game, I think it's very important to talk about. And obviously, the Milinkovic-Savic situation that is really important because it depends the future of Lazio from that, right, Alistair? I mean, so many things to talk about today.
There really are, yeah. I mean, it's kind of surprising. You wouldn't have had Lazio Cremonese down at the start of the season as like one of the biggest talking point producers, but wow, I mean, 65,000 people. I'm really jealous. I couldn't go yesterday after going to all these games. I couldn't get there yesterday because of other work, so I'm still actually a bit upset about that. But full stadium was amazing to see. The send-offs for Radu, and obviously we'll get on to potentially Sergej. The 2013 team. I mean, we are pretty critical of the club from time to time, quite often, but they have done this well. The 10-year anniversary stuff, they've done really well, and it was a real occasion. I mean, what was it like in the stadium this year? I mean, it must have been fantastic, the kind of celebration of the 10 years. And
Yeah, it was great, honestly. Nice party. Well, again, I don't know if Lazio would have won yesterday. I don't know if it would have been the same thing. But the anniversary party for Lazio's Coppa Italia victory against Roma was great. It was good to have all those players there available. Honestly, I didn't recognize Bernie from the picture.
yeah, me too. I was like, is that Tommaso Rocchi?
I thought, why is he there? And then I found out that he was part of Petkovic staff. Was lucky to don't have Petkovic there with the rest of the team. But it was good to... and why Bizzarri was there? He wasn't part of the team, right?
Oh, God, you picked me on the spot. I can't even remember. Yeah, let's say this. I mean, the kind of who's who game was quite interesting because I honestly thought, like, most of them, like, you could still do a shift here. I mean, like, Miro Klose and like Stefano Mauri and players like Conco, like they all look exactly the same. Biava, they almost look identical to how they did in 2013, I swear. So, maybe some ideas for the transfer market there for big Igli, if he's the one who's doing it. But no, it was great. Look, I mean, I think we should probably start with Stefa Radu because it was his day, really. It almost wasn't because of the way the game went that I don't know if he was potentially going to be denied his last minute entrance, but he got it in the end, lifted up by his teammates. He's in tears, big banners for him before the game. I mean, what an incredible servant. This isn't a guy who's come through the youth academy. This is a guy who's come over from Dinamo Bucharest, stayed 15 years at the club, become more laziali than anyone really, and 427 games, I think, all-time appearance record. What an incredible career he's had at Lazio, and he's really become like the fan on the pitch kind of classic example, hasn't he?
Yeah, definitely. It was good to see him start. I was talking before we recorded this video that after the halftime we were thinking, okay, if we score another 2 goals, Radu can come in earlier, and maybe a couple of youngsters from the Primavera could come in and play a little bit. But Lazio didn't make it happen. We conceded 2 stupid goals to Cremonese. So it was even a risk, Alistair, because the game wasn't over at all, right, when Radu came in.
Yeah.
He touched a lot of balls, so that was good for him. But yeah, it was good to see him coming in for the last time at the Stadio Olimpico. His speech was great. You could see that he was very emotional. One thing very important, I hope he stayed with the club, because it would be important to have him in the club. Miro Klose, that wasn't very kind, I would say, after the match said, well, Lazio's not very good at these things. Celebrating legends, like Radu and like other players. We are improving because this year we did it for Radu. Last year we did it for Strakosha and Leiva. We didn't do it for Luis.
Felipe, yeah.
No, for Luis. So it depends on how do you leave the club, right, Alistair? If you leave it in good terms, we're going to celebrate it. And this made me think, well, should have we done something for Milinkovic-Savic as it looks like he's going to leave?
No, I think it's right to not do that because you just never know. I mean, if you think back to this time last year, we were having almost the same conversation about Milinkovic. We were expecting that was his last game as a Lazio player. Didn't happen. And yeah, look, he's not going to just go. He's still got another year on his contract. So in order for him to leave, he does still need to get an offer from a team. It needs to be an offer that Lazio think is the right value, that they accept. He needs to do the negotiations, and he needs to join the club. All the normal transfer stuff still needs to happen here, and with Lazio, that's never a guarantee. So I think most of us by now would say, like, good luck and thank you for everything, to be honest. He's been incredible servant as well to the club. But, I mean, most of us as well, I think, would rather get some money now than lose him for free in a year. But at the same time, you don't want him to go to another Italian club. That's the main thing for me. But yeah, I don't think you can, say thank you for everything, Sergej. Here's your commemorative shirt if he's still got another year on his contract and he's not organised to sign with anyone.
Yeah, it would be funny if this happens and then next year he comes back and play for us. So,
exactly.
But yeah, that's the problem, I think, because as you were mentioning, we cannot afford to let him go for free next year. And it doesn't look he has that many offers at the moment. So that's the biggest concern. He scored twice yesterday, so he was fundamental. I didn't think he played at the level we were expecting, though. I don't know. I'm asking too much to Sergej.
Perhaps in this occasion, yeah. I mean, look, if he's scoring 2 goals, okay, the second one, I think either of us could have scored as well, but he was still getting a lot of plaudits from the commentators yesterday for those. Oh, look at the way he's disrupting the defenders at the corner. It's like, oh, okay. But anyway, 2 goals is a great way to go out. Winning the game at the death like that, a bit of a crazy game, the kind of Lazio blackout we've not had to talk about for a while, but rather Lazio scoring that own goal than Radu, imagine. But look, I mean, I think it's a great send-off for him because he deserves to have the feeling that he's said goodbye, even if he's not going to get the actual Radu-style send-off. We've got a child wagging some sort of toys behind us, so hopefully that's not making it through too much. But yeah, look, I mean, we'll see how it goes. His comments, what did you think? He basically said the same thing we've heard all the time, which is, I've still got another year, let's see, I've always enjoyed it here, blah, blah, blah. So do you think we kind of got anything out of him yesterday that's new at all?
Well, he said that he needs to talk to the club when the season is over, which is something he never mentioned in the past. And the fact that we are end of May and we still didn't sign a new contract, I think it's clear that he doesn't want to stay. At the same time, I don't think he wants to move for free. He wants to make sure the club gets something. But if he doesn't renew, which I don't think is going to happen, you have to sell him this summer for sure. I mean, I would be happy to have Milinkovic again for a couple of years. But if you don't sell him, if he doesn't, and Sari said it, right? If he doesn't renew the contract, I think the club has to sell it this summer. So I think, in a strange sense, is the club now pushing to sell him rather than the player? Because we need to make money about that. And then this leads me, Alistair, to probably the most important quotes from yesterday, the one Maurizio Sarri made, yes? Yeah. He said, I come here not because of the money. I left a lot of money on the table. I accept a very lower salary compared to my other jobs. But now we have to make a better transfer market, a Champions League transfer market. We have to talk with the president, with Lotito, and see if we are pointing to the same direction, if we have our same ideas. Otherwise, even though I have a contract, I have no problem to leave. He said that he's happy here, but obviously, I mean, if you're playing for the Champions League, you have to sign Champions League level players. And I think this is important because in the past 2 times we went to the Champions League, we didn't do a Champions League transfer market, right? So this is very important to point it out straight away that we need a Champions League transfer market.
Yes, and I think one of the questions you kind of asked when I first got here was like, is this a good thing to hear him saying these things? And I think it is, because like Lazio have to learn from mistakes of the past, right? And let's be honest, Champions League qualification is fantastic, but if it's only happening every 4 or 5 years, it's very hard to actually turn that progress into real sustainable progress. So Sarri's, in my mind, totally right to be addressing this now, because the thing we're frustrated by year on year is that the club is too slow to build the squad. And so he's saying, first thing I need, who's staying, right? Because, okay, fair enough, transfers might take a while, they can be complicated, fair enough, there's loads of variables about what signings you may or may not get, but he needs to at least know that they're not going to wait until the last day of August and sell Luis Alberto, for example. He needs to know who are the untouchables in this squad, who he can absolutely rely on. I think he's totally right to be making these kind of demands, because if he's the coach, he's ultimately the one who will be judged on the success of the team next season. He's made it completely clear this season that the squad isn't capable of competing in two major competitions, and that's when we're playing in the Europa or Conference League, not when they're playing in the Champions League. So if we're really realistically going to be targeting multiple years in a row of qualification for the Champions League, which has to be the target, it's pretty simple. I mean, it's right there. You have to give him better quality players this summer, and you have to get the best players he's already got to commit. Milinkovic-Savic obviously might be the exception there, but then at least you can reinvest that money. I can only hope that things are happening behind the scenes that we don't know about. They're going to surprise us when the market opens in July, and they're already making moves, because I think it's fair to say you need to wait to know what next season holds, what revenue you're likely to make from Champions League, Europa League, so on, before you make big decisions. But you need to at least know what options you're going to go for.
Well, the positive things compared to last time we reached the Champions League is, crossing fingers, there's not another pandemic coming soon. So
yeah,
Lazio should be able to make something around 50 million euros altogether. Let's not forget that we are officially qualified for the Supercoppa Italiana. This year it's different, 14 playing, and Lazio should make at least 5 million euros out of that. So compared to last time, we're going to have a lot of money. 15 million euros guarantee. If you sell Milinkovic, you're going to get another chunk. So this time, Alistair, we have the money. Obviously, we can waste it, right?
Can I ask you a really awkward question before you ask me?
Yeah.
What about the liquidity index?
Well, again, that's an issue. But with this 50 million euros coming in, we should be able to bypass our old friend. So this should be the thing. Again, 50 million euros. Lazio financial balance sheet is in good shape compared to Milan, Roma, or the others. So really, we should have 50 million euros to spend in good players. Again, if you sign Audero for 10 million euros, I think it's a waste of money. You don't need to spend that much on a second goalkeeper. But, 50 million euros, we need a lot of players, because yesterday we noticed, Alistair, you were too old, you needed to win, and you made 2 substitutions, right? Felipe Anderson and Pellegrini. Another team with more bench players, more quality bench player would have, don't say make already 5 substitutions, but maybe 3, 4 would have been what Inter, Milan, Juventus would have done, right?
Yeah, and ultimately Sarri's been very good at dealing with the squad he's got, I would say, because he kind of made the call, we sacrifice Europe in order to focus on the Serie A. Interestingly, Roma have done the complete opposite here, so all their eggs are in the European basket. So yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting. We're already, it's not even the end of the season yet. We're already so focused on the squad building, but it's such a big summer. It really is. And I think ultimately what this all comes down to is who's in charge of it. We still don't actually know for sure if Iglitare is going to be, put in play, remain in place in order to actually make these signings and build this squad. And that's a huge part of it. So it's good to see Sarri talking about his own commitment to the squad and making demands for what he feels the team needs, because I feel like second season, finishing top four, potentially second, which, by the way, if we finish second, it'll be the first time since the Scudetto. So, I mean, we shouldn't, it's been a weird season, but we shouldn't gloss over that as an achievement. That would be amazing. Yeah, I don't know. It's exciting times, but it's also slightly nerve-wracking, isn't it, because of what's happened before, where you kind of feel the pressure of the opportunity a little bit.
Well, again, going back to Sarri's words, I think that's very important, because no manager at the club ever made that type of statement, right? Never was so hard with the club. And we already saw it last summer, when Sarri had a little bit of power in the summer transfer. We know that he pushed for Casale, and we saw the results, right? So I think, talking about Iglitare, if Sarri gets more power when we have to deal with the transfer market, that would be very important for us. I don't know who's going to be our sport director. I don't think it's going to be Iglitare, but the most important thing is that Sarri dictates what he wants to do this summer, which player he wants, which player he allowed to leave. Like, for example, Laziali could be one of those names. And, if we make the right summer transfer, I think this time we have the money, not to make a team that competes for the Scudetto, let's be honest, but a team who can fight on, three competitions, Coppa Italia, Champions League and Serie A. Because, as you were mentioning, our goal has to be to finish for 2, 3, 4 seasons in a row in the Champions League. This was a sort of miracle. No one could see it coming. And if we finish second, it's unbelievable. But we have to do it even next year. And next year is going to be harder, because you're going to play Champions League. You cannot do what you did this year with Europe League, right? You cannot play the B team in Champions League. Otherwise, you're going to be destroyed. And you cannot afford to be destroyed in the Champions League. So you have to have a bigger roster. There are question marks, Basic, Marcos Antonio, things like that. And if the manager decide, he's staying, he has to leave, I need this, and that, I think with the money we're getting, we should be able to build a decent team, right?
Yeah, you're right. There'll be a much bigger challenge there for Lazio next season, but also you can't rely on the rest of the clubs being like this next season. The standard of the big teams has been so poor this year. Inter losing 12 games in Serie A and still finishing in the top three. Milan have been so inconsistent. Same with Roma, Atalanta dropping off, Juve having all sorts. But I don't think, okay, there are variables like Napoli looks like they're going to lose Spalletti. Who knows with Roma and Mourinho what's going to happen there? Again, you just can't really predict what's going to happen with the Milan teams. But I don't think Lazio can expect to, I guess, get away with the inconsistency that they've got away with this season. The real key this season for me to this finish, guaranteed top three now, has been the performances in the big games. And that's great, because for me that says something about the mentality of this team, and that's changed. And that this team is able to rouse itself and reach that level. But yeah, that's where they're going to suffer in the Champions League campaign, is like those midweek trips to, Frosinone next season, whatever it is. That's where they've still had problems. I remember back in January, the first two games we drew with Lecce, lost to Lecce, drew with Empoli. Threw away a 2-goal lead to draw with Empoli. I remember talking to you then and saying top four is gone. I mean, look, all my predictions this season have been wrong. All of them. Apart from Cremonese being relegated, I think I got everything wrong this year. But still, I think it goes to show that Lazio have actually had a lot of issues with those inconsistency in the league this season, despite the top three finish. So that's already a warning. And yeah, like I say, we still need to focus on this season and not look ahead too much, which we're already starting to do. This is turning into a season preview for 23-24, but yeah, lots to be done.
Yeah, we have to mention that it was a very weird season with the World Cup in between, so that didn't help. And at the same thing, we have to mention that the team that will miss the Champions League, like Juventus for sure, they're not going to have that much money to spend in the transfer market. We know economical Inter and Milan are not in good shape, so we have to wonder what they're going to do. So this is definitely going to help. Atalanta, I think, is going to sell some key players, and don't think they're going to have the money to spend big. But yeah, we're going a little bit too further. We just touched about the match yesterday and the crowd. I mean, that was amazing, right? The question is, where were you all the rest of the season? Why? And this is the second time in a row, because even last year, Lazio Verona, the Stadio Olimpico was packed. Why are they not coming during the regular season?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's fantastic to see a crowd like that, and it's fantastic to be reminded of the possibility of Lazio games looking like that, because it doesn't happen very often. And when it does happen, it tends to be for big games where actually a lot of those, the other end is made up of away fans, you know, for the derby, for example, or for Juve or whatever. But this was like almost entirely, I don't know, did you see how many Cremonese fans there were? Maybe 100 or something?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. But yeah, for it to be almost like an entire full Olimpico of laziali is an incredible thing. And hopefully the Champions League games at least will be like that, because let's not forget, a few years ago during COVID, it wasn't able to be like that. So that should surely get the excitement back a bit, but it does feel like more needs to be done. And I don't know what it is, whether it's just because there are a lot more Lazio fans who kind of come into the city from outside, or they don't want to, they're more reluctant to kind of, you know, go to awkward kickoff times late on a Thursday night or whatever it is. But the club needs to, in my opinion, perhaps unpopular opinion, take a leaf from Roma's book here. They have been superb since Mourinho came in, of like harnessing the excitement around Mourinho, rightly or wrongly, about what he can achieve. And it's become such an event for Romanisti to go to the game that they've sold out almost every game for 2 years now. Now, I'm not saying that's going to be easy for Lazio, but I don't know whether it's about reducing ticket prices or more promotion or doing more in the city, or like more rewards for people who are buying tickets to get cheaper tickets for the next games. And they have experimented with a few of these things over the season, haven't they? Like domino packages and bits and bobs. But what do you think? Do you think it's how much? Well, my question, I guess, to you is how much do you think of it is down to the club to get that, to raise attendances, and how much is down to the fans themselves?
Well, I think, and we spoke about it, and I think it's completely wrong. Lazio fans don't care about the Europe League, and I don't understand why.
Yeah.
They simply don't care, because we saw it. Lazio played on Friday night and Serie A game, and there were fans there. Thursday night, and there were fans there. Lazio play Europe League on Thursday night, and well, it's late, it's cold, etc. They find excuses. They don't care about the Europe League. So I hope with the Champions League things will change. We have to say that our Lazio marketing is probably the worst in the world. Do some package, you know, for the Europe League. Do a sort of season tickets for the Europe League. You know, the group phase, 3 tickets for this amount of price, like Roma did. And then you mentioned the domino effect. They did it once. Come on, do it 3 times. We started the season the 14th of August, and we are going to finish in June, and you do 1 promotion in all the year. I mean, 1. Come on. Think about the fans. It looks like they don't care about the fans. You know, do something. Going to the match is expensive. It's not easy. We're in Rome. We play so many matches at home that it's not easy for everybody to afford it. Do something, you know, right? Do something to incentive fans to go to the matches. That's what Roma's doing, Inter doing, etc. Lazio is the only one, and with Napoli, I would say, that is not doing it. So this is a big mistake, huge mistake.
You got to profit on the moment, don't you? Like, because that's the thing with these. It's easier said than done, I think, to massively raise attendances when you've not improved the facilities, which they're not going to. Olimpico's not going to change anytime soon, sadly. But without being able to massively change the actual context of what a match day looks like, they really need to profit on the emotional state of the fan base. And Yeah, and that's last. Yesterday was a reminder of what it can be like, and that's the thing that always frustrates me when you go to one of these Europa League games and there's 5,000 people there or something. You're like, just everyone is gonna play better if you've got a full house. I mean, it's in everyone's interest for a full house to happen more often. And look, I think it's unrealistic to say 65,000 need to be in there every week. Fine, but you can get it up from at the moment where it's at around 38, 40, something like that, which isn't bad as an average. It's a lot better than it used to be. But I think you can push that up to 45, for example, and it does make a difference. And try and, like you say, raise, get into the heads of the fans more somehow, find a way of getting them emotionally engaged and excited about the journey that this team is on, tell the story better, They have been doing more, I think, had a go at the marketing, but in terms of communication, they've got slightly better with their Instagram page and even occasional English language posts, Vittorio. I mean, very confusingly, because they seem to post in English on some accounts and not on others. But anyway, they do seem to be doing more and more video, more like social media stuff, but that's just one part of the path, I think, and it still feels like there's a lot of work to be done there to make them kind of competitive with other clubs in that regard.
We have to point out that the Stadio Olimpico is so huge that doesn't help, right? It's a very old stadium, very big, so, clubs like Lazio have struggled to fill it up. But, 40, 45,000, it's a good number. And I think in Serie A we reach often that level. The problem is the European competition. And it's not a surprise, I think, that Lazio didn't play as well in Europe as in Serie A, because with the stadium half empty, it's difficult. Another very important thing to point out, after Lazio Feyenoord, I don't remember the name of the Feyenoord player who said, well, I was more afraid to play against PSV with the stadium packed than at the Stadio Olimpico empty. I mean, you don't feel the pressure. You're not afraid to play against this team with the stadium empty. With the stadium packed full, it's a different atmosphere, and even the opponent team feels different. So this is very important. I don't want to say that Lazio didn't go through in the Europa League because of the fans, but definitely they didn't help. In tough situation with the stadium cold, empty, players struggle to play at the best, to get motivated in the hard times. So that's definitely something different.
And I think ideally, and this is probably something that will resonate with our listeners who are mostly, overseas fans who will get rare opportunities to watch Lazio. The match day shouldn't really be about what game it is. It should be about watching Lazio. Like, the opposition and the competition should actually almost be irrelevant, ideally. It's more about Lazio playing tonight, so I'm going to go. And you go and support your team. And, once you get there, you can go, oh, wait, who are we playing? Oh, I don't know, Bodo Glimt or whoever it is. But, I think that's more the kind of, that should be the emotional draw to the game, is actually just to watch your team and put aside what the context is, what the opponent is, what the competition is, and just focus on, getting your team over the line, because it clearly makes a big difference, with or without 65,000 fans. But I guess the bigger difference is probably more with, I wrote a tweet about this a few months ago where I was looking at the attendance and at the time, and the average in Serie A was 40,000, the average in Europe was 15. So it's less than half the average attendance in European competitions this season. And look, there's a lot of apathy around Conference League, Europa League. Lazio have been in these competitions so many times in the last 15 years or so and not done anything, so fair enough. But Champions League is a chance to turn that around. And people are going to get excited by the Champions League, aren't they? Even surely.
I hope so. I think one of the biggest disappointments was that we couldn't go to the matches last time we qualified for the Champions League.
Yeah.
That was really, really annoying. And, I came back to Rome hoping that finally we will get to the Champions League and go and see matches, etc. So I hope Lazio will do the season tickets for the Champions League this year, which they did last time we went to, so that should be important. But yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Make the match an event, not about the opponent, but about Lazio. You know, Radu's goodbye, don't know, shirt celebration, Lulic event, something like that. You have so many legend players or things to remember that you could make it every week something. You know, you could do a concert before. Yesterday was Braga singing, it was great. You know, you have so many legend and Lazio fans that you can organize every week something. Obviously, having your own stadium will help, but try to make an event, as you were saying, about Lazio. It should be something really important, right?
Yeah. Next year it'll be 50 years since the first Scudetto. I mean, that's... If they don't make a big deal about that, then I don't know, I give up. Because that is just the most amazing team. Sadly, we've lost a few of them, obviously, by now, but there'll still be a lot to celebrate around that team and that incredible achievement. And really, you know, a part of the Lazio story, that ultimate kind of underdog success, which resonated with so many people. Yeah, we've gone on a bit of a tangent today. We're talking about all sorts of stuff. But look, last game, home game of the season, just beating Cremonese, who are already relegated in the last minute. We've not really talked about the performance that much, because I guess it doesn't matter that much by this point. But yeah, what now? One away from second place. It's fantastic. We can do the proper season review when we get to it. But I think that has more or less wrapped up this final home game, hasn't it?
Yeah, as we talked about a lot of things, I want to finish with one point. I think a couple of months ago, I said, you need to buy me a Ross Country shirt. And you said, when you're going to buy me a Lazio shirt? Hold this.
Oh dear, what's happening here?
So,
big reveal, guys. No.
Guys, this is the proof. He cannot say, I don't remember. Did you do something? Did you buy me the shirt? So...
You haven't actually, have you?
Open it. Let's see. Maybe it's empty. Who knows?
It's gonna be just like... Oh my god.
I hope the size is good, because you're not be able to change it.
Look at that. Are you serious?
Huh? So now I need home and away of Ross Country.
That's beautiful. To be honest, you can probably buy Ross Country as a club for the price that this shirt costs. Oh, thank you, Vittorio. What a guy. What generosity.
You see? Now,
this is to make up for all the insults over the years.
29th of May, I think he has 1 month of time to buy me the Ross Country shirt. And it's going to be incredible, because I don't know where he can find it in Rome. But it's going to be interesting.
For once in my life, I'm a bit lost for words here.
Well, I think we can wrap it up here. Yeah, check the size. I hope it works, because I don't know if you're going to have the chance to change it, because it's sold out. And guys, we're going to talk again next Monday. We don't know when Lazio's playing. This is awful, because they still have to decide. We need to win, Alistair, because if we win, we are sure we are going to finish second. Otherwise, we have to rely on Inter, who's playing against Torino away. So we need to finish second, more money than third. But yeah. Yeah, let's do it. Second place. I don't know how much difference it makes, other than historically being a big thing. But money-wise, it's important. Yeah. It's like 10 million euros more. So, you know, it's going to be key for us. So, guys, rate and review the podcast. If you're on YouTube, subscribe and like the video. Thanks.